Good afternoon, and thank you again for joining Stone Art Supplies Sunday Artist Talk. My name is Lois Stone, and I am an abstract artist and owner of Stone Art Supply. Today, we are speaking with Felicia Grant Preston, a Chicago artist who has done extraordinary work all over the city and beyond. I met Felicia many years ago at the Lake Meadows Art Fair. Many years ago when we still had an art fair in Lake Meadows Shopping Center, and just kind of followed her work and seen her grow and become such an established artist in the city of Chicago and again beyond. So Felicia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me to participate.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy that you're here. And I wanted to start our conversation out off. We usually talk to everyone about how they got started in their art and, where they get their inspiration. But I was reading in your artist statement that you considered yourself a confirmed colorist, So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it took me a while to realize that what I really loved was working with color. So yes, I call myself a self-proclaimed colorist, but my art in particular was when I was growing up, my teachers would always talk about, because I did, artwork in elementary school, and I was always asked to do bulletin boards and things like that, and small pieces of art for other people. And so my teachers really encouraged me to become an artist. My father had talent, but when he returned from the service and was not able to go to art school with the GI Bill, he did a correspondence course for a while, and then got very involved in family, and he didn't continue. My brother also had talent, but he didn't take an interest in it like I did. I spent a good deal of time just drawing. My teachers would tell me I should become an artist, but I didn't really know what that meant. Because I didn't see any artists around to emulate. And, but it was something that, that always stayed in the back of my mind. So when I went to, when I was in undergraduate school, I studied art, of course. I went to SIU my freshman year, and I had also been accepted at the Art Institute. I went to the Art Institute. They deferred my acceptance. I went in my sophomore year, and I was very discontented, to say the least, with the Art Institute. And I ended up going back to SIU because I really felt like I was really learning more technique while I was there. An interesting thing occurred though while I was there. I did a painting. We did more realistic things. And I did a painting, just an abstract painting, or what I refer to as non-representational painting in color. And my instructor looked at it and said, oh, well, that's just a palette knife painting, and basically dismissed it that way. And so, I stopped doing it. And it was some years later when I was a part of the group Mud Peoples, which Marvin and I were both a part of. And one of the members of the group, Calvin, saw a piece of non-representational work I had on my walls at home. And he said, how come you're not still doing that? And I told him the story about my instructor at SIU. And he said, well, you're not in school anymore. So, at that point, I really started doing more non-representational or abstract work. However, I found that when I was doing art fairs and things like that, I found that a lot of people in our community seem to really like more representational work. So that was one of the things that kept me for many years, in the vein of representational work, and then at one point I was trying to find ways to combine representational work with my work in color. And I was always working mostly with the same colors, just in different combinations, and some would be more dominant than others, but basically my palette didn't change very much. And the first time I think my husband and I went to Bahamas or Jamaica, one of those beautiful places, and I realized seeing a sunset. That was it. That was my inspiration. My love of color came from my love of sunrises and sunsets, and particularly over water. And so, like I said, then I tried combining them together. And then I got to the point where, it just, I loved working with color more than I love doing representational work. I do go back from time to time to do representational work, only because I found after years of not doing any and not doing any drawing, the first time I started drawing again, I was really rusty, and I never wanted to lose that skill. So from time to time, I do go back to doing some drawing. And then I've also done printmaking, which I love, but that's another story.
Yeah.
And it's very time consuming, so I don't get a chance to do it very often. And I would always have to do a class in order to be able to use the facilities. So, but my first love is working with color and texture.
That's the two things that I learned how to do, and I've never really taken art as as a major or anything like that in school. But those are the two things that I love is color and texture, or color and fabric. Surface design. I know that you did some surface design as well, right? On fabric or yeah.
I love tie-dye too. It's manipulating color.
Yeah. So how would you describe or define your artwork? How would you define it? Not necessarily describe, but define who you are as an artist.
Like I said, I guess I could define myself as a colorist. I mean, that's a term that, I found, just doing art history. And, but of course, the art history that I studied in undergrad and in grad school, there was never any work about African-American artists that I could see. But one of the things that I realized that the work that I saw, because most of them were European artists, mainly white male artists. But what I found most appealing in the probably period of time that I loved the most was the Impressionist period. And I know that was because of color, because of the use of color. So even though, I've been sometimes criticized because my work changes from time to time. However, I can't really deny the inspiration that comes to me, because if something comes to me intuitively, I just go with it. And I don't decide whether, oh, well, that wasn't what I was doing last week. That wasn't a part of my, regular body of work, which I consider my work in color. But when I'm inspired to do something, I do it. And sometimes what happens with that is it may be found materials. It kind of very strange situations may happen where, like I live in a very old house, and the former owners, left some things in the basement. And, some of them had just kind of been around. And at one point there was a big piece of wood. I think it was part of a crate, and it said fragile. And, I had been sitting there for years and years. And one day I'm heading into the studio, because my studio is in the basement, and something says, take this in. So I do, because I know that that's what happens when I hear something that strongly tells me to pick this up, look at that, grab this. Even though I don't know why at the time, I know that it's going to eventually come, because the end result will be a piece of work. And so I can't go by what people think I should be doing. What I've learned to do, if I'm doing a show, perhaps I will put in a certain kind of work. And but if I had a one-person show, a very talented curator, Tempest Hazel, did a show, and she came and looked at all the work that I had, because I'm very prolific as well. I prayed on it. I've been very prolific now I need to start moving some of it on. However, she selected a body of my work from different periods of time, and there are different types of work, and she did a phenomenal job at putting this show together. And if people could really see it that way, although, like I said, my first foot forward is as a colorist and doing that work. So that's primarily what I try to put out there. But if someone is interested in other parts of my work and other things that I do, then I'm happy, to have that seen as well. So I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah, you definitely did. Was creativity always a part of your life? Did you see that as your path in life, or how did it come about that you would, I know that you were a teacher for many years at CPS, but was creativity and art always going to be, did you know that was going to always be a part of your life?
It was. I mean, like I said, from elementary school, because I was always, doing things, and I was doing, when teachers, other teachers there, not even the teachers that I had, but when other teachers saw work of mine, or when they saw a bulletin board that I would do for one teacher, they would ask me to do others. So I was always doing artsy kind of things. I always loved it. I was always, I always pretty much had a pencil in hand. Although when I work now, I found that after seeing a piece of work by Charles White at the Art Institute, I was just absolutely floored with his charcoal. And I had learned how to do charcoal when I was at SIU, how to work with charcoal and pastels. And I found that I loved the richness of the black and white on paper. And so that became something that I started incorporating as well. But then I could see it coming out in different ways, I know people have different ways of decorating their homes and things like that, and I'm kind of the same way, in the sense that, I love creating an environment that's inviting for me, and hopefully for others, but more inviting for me. And that's another thing that I always encourage people about collecting, because, you create an environment that creates a space for peace. And that's what I feel like I've created a home. So, that has become a part of, so I think it's been part of my whole life. And then I've also noticed it in my children. My oldest son is a sculptor, but we saw him, developing things in clay. The first time we gave him Play-Doh, and he was 2. And my joke about that is that he didn't eat it. He started making things. But he would also create these incredible little outfits that he would wear. He would find all kind of things around the house and dress up in them. And, and you look at him and like, wow, he's created this whole little outfit, and, just to play around, he'd make little swords with cardboard and aluminum foil. And, when plastic bags with the handles first came out, he'd poke holes in the bottom and put the handles over his shoulder. He'd be like wearing a jumpsuit. So yeah, my younger son does hip hop music. So, I've seen the creativity in all of them. My granddaughter is now starting to draw all the time. So I always, when she was able to stand up, because I kept her from the time she was 4 months till she was 3 and went to preschool. And when she was able to stand up, I bought her an easel, had to put her on a box in order to get her high enough, and started her painting then. So she has an incredible sense of color, and she draws all the time. So I think whenever, these things begin to come out, you feel them in, and you can't help but to do it. And I think that's why there are artists who maybe didn't start drawing or doing artistic things when they were young. However, this urge came out as they got older. And, you know, once it starts, it's hard to quiet it down. Some people try to, you know, or they divert it in different directions, you know. Some of them sewing, some of them doing interior decorating kind of things. And, you know, if it is in you, I feel like it's in you, it's going to come out one way or the other. And it's hard to press it down, but, you know, some people are able to do that, but that's difficult.
It is. It is. We had a older brother in our family who was extreme. He was just naturally a drawer. You know, he can sit, and it just came so natural to him to be able to sit and draw somebody. Whereas with me, if I try to draw somebody, I know that that has to be a learned skill for me. You know, I can paint all kinds of things abstract, but to be able to draw something too that you can recognize, you know, I'm not good with that, but I do art in other ways. And you get, like you said, you can find it in your families. You know, most of my family is musicians. A lot of them can do art in different ways, but they all have some skill. The only thing that I guess in our generation, our parents did not encourage it because they didn't see, you know, they only did what they saw. They didn't see the value in somebody learning that can draw, that could be a path for them, you know. And sometimes those when those things are suppressed, they may come out in negative ways, you know. You know, so I agree with you. You have to, you know, once you find that it has to be encouraged, you know. So what was my next question? Well, I think you answered what you feel more at ease. Well, to me, you feel comfortable in both spaces, either representational or abstract. But you seem to really gravitate toward the color, and your color may come out in more abstract ways. And while we're talking about that, let's see. I know you have some pieces that you wanted to show that we asked you to show. You know, if you could show those now. A couple of your works. There's one behind you that really reminds me of a lot of sunset or a burst of color. And then, you know, what can you show us a couple other pieces that you have?
Okay, that piece is called "It Takes Faith," and that's a piece that is on. Readjusting here. That's a piece that's on paper, but I also, of course, do a lot of work on canvas as well. And let me see if am I out of, see, I'll make sure, okay, that I'm situated where you can actually see. The piece that I'm getting ready to show you now is well, it's not one of mine. I'm going to adjust this a little bit and hopefully you can see it, or maybe I need to get back on it. Can you see that as well? Let me see, maybe if I sit it on the floor, tell me what works best.
Okay,
I might have to reposition myself a little bit around. This is a piece. Can you see it?
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Okay, this is a piece that I created years ago. It's one of my favorite, and it was for a show that was called, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting right now. Rites of Passage. Okay, there it is. And, you know, while a lot of people were talking about, you know, using the topic rites of passage, you know, referring to puberty rites, you know, I could not help but to, you know, think about rights and how rights have been denied. And I'm hoping I'm giving you a good vision of it so that you can see, you know, up in the upper, I guess from your vantage point would be the left-hand corner. I hope it would be, I don't know if it's reversed there. There is a part of the Statue of Liberty. And what happens is this piece, there's a slave ship that comes into the composition, breaking apart the Statue of Liberty, which is one of our symbols of freedom and justice. And next to that is what is a representation of a certificate of freedom, and that's collaged on. And it is what, even, can you see that?
I can see, yes, yes.
Am I putting it? Let me see, I'm trying to put it so that you can see not the map, but you can see the piece, okay? Anyway, it was what African-American people had to have. If they were freed, they had to carry around their papers to show that they were free. Otherwise, they could be hunted down as slaves, or even in some cases, they would be captured anyway and put back into slavery, even though they were carrying their papers. Then up under that are the words liberty spelled backwards. Now, when you're doing things in printmaking, anything you want to, or at least every medium except silkscreen, everything you want to print to come out directly as it should be done backwards. So liberty is purposely done backwards because what we consider as liberty is sometimes backwards. Then you may see images of like paper dowels. That represents, and across there are the words liberation. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Yeah, you might have to pull the iPad out a little bit so you can see a larger view of it there. I think it's
I don't know, it seems to get smaller instead of larger. Tell me when you got a better view of it.
That's a little bit better view right there.
Okay. So then there are paper dowels, and that represents women's liberation.
Got it.
And then up in the upper right-hand corner is the Star of David, representing Jewish people whose rights have been denied. And down below is, this is one of the things that makes it very unique, because I make each one different, is what is kind of a representation of a Native American rug. Now, when I was trying to figure out how I wanted to symbolize Native Americans, I went to the library and researched some Native American history. And I wish that I had kept the documentation, because what I wanted to kind of symbolize was, work that they did, like doing rugs and things like that. But in the process of looking for some type of symbol, what I read was a story about how when settlers were coming into the New World, as they called it, and they had Native Americans there that they called Indians. They had moved in, with troops and things like that. And, so when they got there, they sent a letter, I guess, to the government. I can't remember exactly, what branch, but they said, what do we do about the Indians? And they said, exterminate.
Wow.
And that's exactly what they did. So across this rug are the words exterminate. Then next to that, there is an eagle, which is sitting over a doorway. The eagle is another one of our representations of freedom, justice, and all of that. And so it's sitting over the doorway. And I consider that doorway the door of opportunity. Sometimes it's open, allowing for some ways for people to get some opportunities that they hadn't had before. And then sometimes it's the eagle over the doorway slams it shut. And that's it. So the piece, and then, if you ever had one of those books from school where, in 8th grade, too good to be forgotten and all those kind of things.
Right.
Mine says, 2 Black, 2 female for America. And
Wow.
then to the right side, it says 2 + 2 = 4, forgotten. And that's that piece. That's one of my favorites.
Oh,
And
wow.
like I said,
You really
it's years
captured
old.
the hypocrisy of America in that.
Oh, absolutely. And those each come, are very unique, because then I change when I put on the representation of the Native American rug. I change it for every piece. Okay, let's see.
Fascinating.
Well,
Thank you. That's a fantastic piece.
Okay, now I know I brought, okay, here's another color piece. Let me see. One of my first loves, and I need to situate that so that you can see it and hopefully get a good view. Can you see this okay, or do I need to put it where you got better light?
We can see that definitely.
Okay. Have I got it in there so you can see, or do I need to pull it back?
No, I think we can see it pretty well.
Okay. This is a recent piece. I have to peek at the back and take a look. It's called Faith's Garden. Because, this journey of being an artist, I mean, it is a wonderful journey, but I'm telling you, I'm sure as an artist, you get a lot of rejections.
Yeah.
So faith is a very important component to just continuing to, put work out there. I don't think I could ever stop doing it, but, sometimes, you have to, when you get a rejection, you have to brush yourself off and pick yourself up and, as they say, start all over again. And, so I'm constantly working though, and, trying to find new ways to be seen. So, okay. Let me see. Now I'm gonna switch in. So you wanted to see some other more representational work? Okay. This is, can you see that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's an etching. Is it? It's hard for me to see because I'm holding my iPad and looking at it from behind. So this is a etching that's called Meditation. And it was actually taken from a photograph of my oldest son. And, because, I've done images of all my family, in different ways, shapes and forms, some drawings, some paintings, some printmaking and, things of such. So that's one that happened to be one of my favorites as well. Let's see, and I have one that I did. I was trying something a little bit different. Uh-oh, can you see that?
Now I think we're seeing your braid.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, we're spontaneous around here. Oh, now this really reminds me, this is a print.
Yes.
Is it not? Okay.
This one is a linoleum block print or lino cut. And this is of my younger son. And here I was trying to combine, his image with some, African imagery. So I'm sure, can you see that well?
Yeah, I definitely can. It sort of reminds me of some Egyptian symbols and yeah.
Okay, now this is one I did of one of my favorite artists. Let's see, how's that? And can you tell who that is?
Oh, I know that is, don't tell me. She's a sculptor, I know that.
Yes. Okay. You're like me, when you let it go, it'll pop back in on its own.
Yes, it definitely will. I can't think of her name, but I know that she did a lot of work in Spain, and she was one of the members at the Southside Community Arts Center, along with Margaret Burroughs. And oh wow, why is her name slipping away from me? But anyway,
Elizabeth, and I bet the other part will chime in. Yes,
yeah.
it works well.
Man, one year I interviewed, I was taking a class at the Art Institute and I interviewed Margaret Burroughs at her home years ago, before, way before she passed. And she would tell me all the stories about her and Elizabeth Cabot and not, Jacob Lawrence and all the people, Charles White and all of the Southside Community Arts Center originals. you know,
Mm-hmm.
it was fascinating. But I met her and I met Elizabeth Catlett at the Art Institute one year when they had her work there
Right.
along with her husband, and was able to speak to her. Yeah, she's fascinating.
Yeah, and actually I did a few of Dr. Burroughs as well. I just wasn't able to grab those fast enough because she really was a great motivator of African American artists and and just African American history and so on and so forth. So sometimes you want to, I feel like just representing some of my favorite, artists and favorite people, in some of my work.
Yeah.
And she happened to be one of them. I actually did 3 pieces of her that were supposed to go to a show in Philadelphia, but I don't know what happened. They changed curators and the show didn't happen. So I was only supposed to create 1 piece, but being me, I couldn't do just the 1 piece.
Just
so
one.
I ended up doing 3 pieces. So
Yeah.
those, I guess I'll let you see it another time.
All right.
But
Well,
yeah,
thank you for sharing those, and please email those to Ronnie so that she can put those in. We can have those available at the end of the at the top, and people can see those in their full, if you had them available, email them to her, and we'll definitely put those up. But thank you for sharing that. I'm sure there's much more. I have to do a studio visit because I know you have a wealth of art in your home. Who do you collect?
Actually, most of my contemporaries are people that I've shown with. Over the years, I've, collected a lot of their work. And actually, my husband, who was the wind beneath my wings, because, trying to juggle being an artist, a teacher, a mother, a wife, that was a lot of juggling. But he was so very supportive. And, so I went to a lot of shows. My kids came up going to a lot of art shows, but at the time when they were young, if they thought an art show was really good, it was how good the food was. But my husband, got very excited about collecting, because at first at home we had all of my work hanging up. And slowly, bit by bit, more of my work came down and other artists' work have come up. So most of the people that I've shown with, I think I have quite a few. I have quite a few of Marva Jolly's pieces, because we had a very long history together, and did the first show. Sapphire and Crystals came out of that. We were Mud Peoples and remained also Mud Peoples. However, we created Marva always said when it was just the 2 of us left, she always wanted to do a women's show. And so we started, making plans to do the show at the Southside Community Arts Center. And it was called, the title of the show was Sapphire and Crystals, which eventually turned into a group. And so most of the women in the group I have works from. I also, from a lot of other artists that I have shown with, I have worked from. Some of them are trades and some of them are purchases, but my husband got so, he got so enthralled in the collecting and loving art, because it's like, he was like a kid in a candy store. We both were. And if I did a booth somewhere and I had to, pay a booth fee, he was ready to run around and buy and start buying art. And I was like, slow down. Let me at least pay for my booth
Yeah, let me
before
get
you
my money
start
back.
buying work.
Yeah.
Right, right. So yeah, that became very interesting. So we have a pretty broad collection of artwork. And you said some of the pieces of my collection. Let's see.
Yeah.
We have okay, let me start with with some of the heavy hitters. Preston Jackson.
Okay.
And we were very good about layaway. Unfortunately, artists were very good about layaway as well. Samuel Acania, Dio Laoye, let me see, Joyce Owens Anderson, let's see, Candace Hunter, Shirley Sullivan, let me see, I may need to look around. Lillian Lewis, who, she actually became a member and stopped working. And so I have some of her work. Tony Wade and Tony Smith.
Tony, yeah, she just did a show at was it Southside Community Arts Center this year, I think.
You said she? Oh, he, Tony Wade, Antonio Wade.
There was a I think there was I don't know if you were on that call or not. There was a artist talk one night with Southside Community Arts Center. I think Candace and Tony Wade were on there. Some people that had shown there. Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Who else? Let me see. I can't think of anybody right now. Let me see. I'm looking at work in here and those. Actually, I have Jonathan Green.
Oh, okay.
From way back, from many years before Jonathan moved out of Chicago. Let's see. I'm looking at what I have in here now. There's a print by Richard Hunt. And let's see. Who else can I see from here? Sylvester Britton. Let's see. Juarez Hawkins.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see. I'm trying to think of some other Sapphire and Crystals members. Let's see. Chevette Williams. Let's see. I'm trying to kind of look around.
Well, I love it when artists collect other artists.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about, this is there's so many hidden gems, in Chicago of African-American artists. And, I mean, many of us on the South Side, but I'm finding that, other parts of the city there are, but there's a really large volume of artists on the South Side of Chicago that really are phenomenal. And, just getting your foot in the door and getting seen on not just a local level, on a national level, international level. And that's, I think, what many of us, hope. And, but whether we get the recognition that we truly deserve, and, there are many more names I'm leaving out. And forgive me, because if somebody sees, oh, she didn't mention me.
No, but now that
I know one artist that I need to get some work from, Lois Stone.
Oh, yeah, not a problem. Not a problem, definitely. But I appreciate that. But like you mentioned, when you try to get the art world has changed so much. We used to, you used to have to drag around your portfolio and hope you get someone to look at it, and then you have to, what other people's definition of art is, that whole scene. And now, art is so all over. With the evolution of art being on social media, and with the pandemic, you have to almost be on social media for your work to be seen. You know what I'm saying? It's like the galleries are finally starting to open up. I think it's becoming a little more open, I think sometimes, or at least I have felt, I don't know if you felt the same thing, but I think that sometimes in the Black community, if you're not representing art in as representational, figurative, but I understand that Black people, we don't see each other a lot, so we tend to create work that is about us, our bodies, our skin, our, that type of thing, and it took me a while to really like research, abstract artists that were Black, and there were many, there were many.
Absolutely. That never got their opportunities to be seen on a wide scale.
So I'm glad things are opening up, but I really look to what I consider the masters in Chicago, like you and the rest of the some of the people you name, because to me that was my like opening up of what artists really did. You know what I'm saying? What art really looked like. And now, with the internet, we can be just as global as anyone else, and people don't have to see our skin color to realize that, we create some beautiful things,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm not very tech savvy, that's something, I need some tutorials, some really hands-on help with that. And I get so involved in my studio, the last thing I want to do is sit in front of a computer. However, I have a gallery that represented me before, and they no longer have a brick and mortar, but they're getting ready to do an online site. So hopefully, that'll be very helpful for me. I mean, just even, just trying to figure out how to download Zoom. And, now because of the pandemic, I've seen a lot of programs and things like that on Zoom. I haven't figured out how to put it on my computer yet. I've got it on my pad and my phone, but that's the next step. But I'm getting there. It can be kind of frustrating even entering shows now, because everybody has their different sites that you have to go on to submit the work. So that's a new site, new password, all that kind of stuff. And so it gets challenging, but you have to move along with technology. So when I can catch up with my kids, I get a little assistance with that. So
hey, I try to be. I almost don't have a choice, because I'm still going to a 9 to 5 every day. So I got to keep up with everything we do is on the computer. But I found this is the way to really reach an audience is and it's so hands-on. You almost got to be on it every day, posting something so people will know your name, or know your work, or but it can get involved, or you can hire your family like I did and let them help you out, so.
Well, my family is so busy because they're working and then trying to do their art too. Maybe I can hire your family.
Yeah, you might be able to hire my family, girl. I'm sure that's not a problem. Felicia, thank you so much for talking with me today. And I know we can go on and on. Again, I would love to do a studio visit. And, hey, now that I'm all vaccinated, I'm sure you vaccinated.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that will be our next step, is a studio visit. The one thing I ask every artist before we end our session is, what is your favorite tool? And that could be in your artwork, that could be in whatever but what's your favorite tool to use?
My favorite tool. I would say, I guess, my hands and my paintbrush, because I use my hands in the paint as much as I use a paintbrush, and it's a lot of, very physical, because I rarely ever sit down, and work, because as you can see, some of it is splashed and, and brushed and, just, so probably, like I said, my hands are very valuable tools for me, but um, you know, I pray nothing ever happens with my hands, but I would probably find another way just to do some art, whether holding a brush in my teeth or, a spray bottle for some paint, or something like that. I know just it's so much in my spirit, so much in my soul that I know I would find some way to get it out.
I hear you.
As they have said before, I think, um, you know, when you're not doing what is meant for you to do, I think you get blocked energy. And so, at least that's my belief. And I would have to find some way to get that out. So right now it's my hands and a brush and a water spray brush and paint. Excuse me. But one never knows what life holds for you. But like I said, as long as I can, I guess I'd say my brain too, because my inspiration, I guess it comes through that way. Or, one never knows, because sometimes it feels like something whispers in my ear, so whatever that voice is, whether it's the voice of God, my guardian angels, whatever, I hope it just keeps speaking to me, and so, I thank God humbly for this opportunity to become an artist.
Mm. Thank you so much. But we thank you and definitely want to hear from you again. Thank you so much for joining us today, and see you all next time on Sunday Artist Talk. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's been my pleasure.